Have you ever walked into a bank holding your Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong, full of hope and ready to ask about exchange, only to walk away feeling embarrassed, confused, or even dismissed? You are not alone. Thousands of currency holders around the world share that exact same story. It seems like such a simple question: can I exchange my dinar dong here? But too often the answer comes back as a quick no, or even worse, a look that makes you feel like you asked about something strange or forbidden. But here's the truth: you are not doing anything wrong. These are real currencies, legal and recognized, even if they are not commonly traded today. The problem is not you, it's how the question is being asked, and how frontline employees are trained to respond. Today in this episode, we're breaking down exactly how to ask the right way so you don't get shut down, and so you can finally get the helpful answers you deserve. Let's begin with the first mistake most people make. When you walk up to a bank teller or call customer service and directly ask, "Do you exchange Iraqi dinar?" you are almost guaranteed to get a flat no. Why? Because tellers are trained to handle common currencies like the euro, the pound, or the yen. They often do not have experience or authority to talk about exotic currencies such as the dinar or dong. To them, your question sounds like you are asking for an immediate transaction, right now, today. Since they do not have that service at their fingertips, their easiest and safest response is to shut the conversation down. That is why so many people leave frustrated. But the real issue here is not whether your bank has a policy. It's that you asked the wrong person the wrong way. So what is the better way? The smarter move is to avoid leading with the word dinar or dong right away. Instead, use broader, professional language that bank employees are trained to understand. A powerful phrase you can use is, "Can you please tell me who at your branch handles foreign currency inquiries?" Notice how different that sounds.
You are not asking for an immediate exchange. You are asking to be directed to the right department. That simple change in wording can bypass the frontline employee and connect you to someone in wealth management, international banking, or the currency services department. These are the people who are more likely to have accurate answers, and more importantly, they are not following a script that forces them to say no to anything outside the everyday routine. Now, if you are calling a bank instead of visiting in person, this approach becomes even more important. Over the phone, you don't have body language, a smile, or presence to help you build trust. All the person on the other side has are your words and your tone. That is why you should be polite, calm, and very specific. A phrase you can use is, "I'd like to speak with someone who can provide information about your foreign currency redemption process." Notice what's happening there. You did not ask if they exchanged dinar. You asked about their policy in general. You also used words like foreign currency and redemption process, which sound professional and are terms banks actually recognize. This subtle shift can completely change the tone of the conversation and keep the door open instead of slamming it shut. Let's also talk about in-person visits, because many of you prefer to walk in a bank to ask questions. Presentation matters. When you step into a bank, dress neatly. You don't need a suit and tie, but avoid looking too casual or unprepared. Why? Because banks are more responsive when you look like a serious customer, not someone chasing a rumor. Confidence matters too. Speak clearly, be polite, and don't rush into asking about the dinar or dong. Start with a broader question like, "I'm planning for some future foreign currency holdings and wanted to know what your process is for exchanging currencies not currently on your display list." This makes you sound prepared, thoughtful, and calm. It also signals that you are not demanding an immediate transaction, but instead gathering information, which lowers resistance from the teller. One powerful technique is to frame your inquiry in terms of planning for the future, not in terms of speculation. For example, saying, "I'm holding a few exotic currencies for long-term purposes and just want to understand what my options might be later," is far more effective than asking, "Will you cash in my dinar after the RV?" Why? Because the first statement makes you sound like someone thinking ahead with responsibility, while the second makes you sound like you are chasing a rumor. Banks are trained to avoid speculation, so if you bring that language into the conversation,
You lose credibility instantly. Keep your words grounded in professionalism and financial planning, and you will notice a huge difference in how employees respond. Another smart phrase to use is this: in the event these currencies become actively tradable again, would your institution be able to support an exchange? This is powerful because it acknowledges the current reality while also pointing toward future possibilities. You are not pressuring the employee to commit to something today. Instead, you are inviting them to explain their institution's general policy. Most bank employees are far more comfortable answering questions about what would happen if, than about what is happening right now. That's because they are not making a promise. They are simply giving you policy information. That alone can open the door to valuable details you might never hear if you had asked the wrong way. Some people even bring supporting documentation with them. For example, you can print out proof from international organizations that confirm the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong are legitimate, recognized currencies. Now, this is not about arguing with the teller or proving a point. It's simply about showing that your question is grounded in reality. Many employees genuinely do not know much about these currencies. Seeing documentation helps them understand that your inquiry is valid. It also positions you as someone serious, not someone chasing internet rumors. Just be careful to use this as a backup tool, not as your opening move. Always lead with calm, professional language first. Tone is everything. Sometimes it's not the words you choose, but the way you deliver them. If you walk into a bank acting excited, whispering about intel or secret news, about a revaluation, you will lose credibility immediately. Bank employees will dismiss you, and in some cases even flag your account as suspicious. Instead, approach the conversation the same way you would talk about any financial planning matter. Be steady, calm, and respectful. Ask about policies, not predictions. By framing your questions as part of a long-term financial plan, you set yourself apart from those who rush in sounding desperate. Remember, the way you carry yourself is just as important as the language you use. Here's another tactic. Use the word exotic currency. This is a term banks actually recognize. Exotic currency refers to currencies that are legitimate but not widely traded, such as the Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong. If you say, "Does your institution handle exotic currency exchanges?" it sounds professional and informed. You show that you have done your homework. It signals that you are not asking about something imaginary, but about a real category of financial service. Bank employees are far more likely to respond respectfully when they hear terms they already know. The moment you use the words exotic currency, you shift the conversation from rumor to reality. You can also frame your situation in personal terms that banks understand. For example, you might say, "A family member overseas gifted me some foreign currency before they passed, and I've held on to it as part of an estate. I'm just trying to understand what my options are in the future." That's a completely reasonable explanation, and it keeps the conversation grounded. Notice that you are not making any speculative claims. You are presenting a real-life scenario, and banks are used to helping customers in similar situations. This approach lowers defenses, invites empathy, and often leads to more helpful guidance. It's also important to manage your expectations. Different branches, regions, and even individual employees may give different responses. Some may be open and helpful, while others may seem dismissive. That doesn't mean the answer is final. It simply means you need to try again at another branch or with another employee at another time. Patience is key. Keep track of which branches are more receptive and build relationships with those. Over time, you may find that certain banks or even certain managers are far more willing to share useful information than others. Treat it like networking. The more respectful connections you build, the better your results will be. Discretion is another critical factor. When asking about exotic currencies, Avoid broadcasting to the entire bank that you are holding large amounts of dinar or dong. Keep your conversations private and professional, just as you would with any sensitive financial matter. If you reveal too much, you risk drawing unnecessary attention to yourself, which can make employees uncomfortable. Instead, stay focused on asking about policies and procedures, not about your personal holdings. Protect your privacy, and you'll maintain credibility at the same time. Now let's recap the strategies we've covered so far. First, avoid asking directly if a bank exchanges dinar or dong. Instead, ask who handles foreign currency policy. Second, use professional terms like redemption process, foreign currency, or exotic currency. Third, keep your tone calm and serious, not excited or speculative. Fourth, frame your questions as long-term planning, not short-term speculation. And finally, protect your privacy by keeping your inquiries discreet. These strategies may sound simple, but they can transform your experience. By changing the way you ask, you increase your chances of being taken seriously and of getting accurate answers. Think of it this way: when you walk into a bank, you are entering their world, their rules, their language. If you speak in terms they don't recognize, you'll get rejected. But if you speak their language, professional, policy-based, and discreet, you create a bridge of understanding. That is the difference between leaving with frustration and leaving with useful information. The good news is that this skill can be learned. It's all about practice, preparation, and patience. And the more you apply these tips, the more confident you'll feel each time you engage with a financial institution. Remember, too, that timing can play a role. Sometimes employees are simply too busy, distracted, or stressed to engage with unusual requests. If your first attempt doesn't go well, don't let it discourage you. Try again another day, or even at another location. The fact that one employee says doesn't mean the entire institution will say no. Persistence paired with professionalism often pays off. Keep your notes, track your conversations, and build a personal strategy. Over time, you will start to see patterns that guide you toward the best places and people to approach. The most important lesson is this: asking about the Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong is not wrong, illegal, or strange. These are real currencies, and you have every right to seek information. The key is to approach the process wisely. Avoid speculation, avoid hype, and avoid the mistakes that trip so many people up. Instead, focus on professionalism, patience, and preparation. When you ask the right way, you stand out as someone serious and informed, not someone chasing rumors. That is the path to getting real answers, and eventually the path to being prepared for future opportunities. So as we close today's update, take these strategies with you. If you've struggled before with getting shut down at banks, know that it's not the end of the story. With the right approach, you can change the outcome. Remember to use the right words, the right tone, and the right mindset. Build relationships, protect your privacy, and always stay grounded. The world of foreign currency can feel confusing, but with the right knowledge, you can navigate it with clarity and confidence. And that's exactly why this community exists, to share practical strategies that keep us informed and prepared. Stay tuned for more Iraqi Dinar news, and as always, stay grounded, stay smart, and stay ready.